Hello everyone, this is Ravinder Dundra and welcome to my channel. In this lecture, we will discuss about class 6th geography, chapter number 3, that is motions of the earth. In the previous lecture from this chapter, we have discussed about what is rotation and effects of this rotation. Now, in continuation with that, in this lecture, we will discuss about revolution of the earth, what is revolution of the earth and what are the effects of this revolution of the earth. As you all know that our earth rotates on its own axis as well as it also revolves around the sun in 365 days. So what is this revolution and what are its effects? So all these things we will discuss in this lecture. First, let us start with the simple definition of this revolution. What do you mean by this revolution? Revolution means motion of the earth around the sun is called revolution. Simply, you can also say it in other terms such as the movement of the earth around the sun in a fixed path, we also called as this revolution. Here it is motion of the earth. Motion of the earth means I have already discussed what is the word meaning called this motion. Motion means movement of an object. So the movement of the earth around the sun is called as revolution. And the speed of the earth, at what speed our earth is revolving around the sun is that it is moving at a speed of 30 kilometers per second. And the other things are that how many days, as you all know that 365 days earth will take to complete one revolution around the sun. But it will exactly how many days, how many hours it will take is that it takes 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes as well as 56 seconds. So this is what the exact time taken by the earth to revolve around the sun. But here what we are focusing is that we are taking only 365 days and we are not considering for this 5 hours 48 minutes 56 seconds. Later we will discuss why we are not considering this 5 hours 48 minutes. Then the next very important thing is that it is also called the annual motion of the earth. That means, as I told, the earth will take 365 days to revolve around the sun. So this means we can say 1 year. So that is why it is also known with the other name, that is annual motion of the earth. Then the other important thing is that just now as I told, we will take only 365 days. Then what about this remaining 5 hours 48 minutes 56 seconds? So this 5 hours 48 minutes 56 seconds roughly taken as 6 hours. And what these 6 hours we do is that we will save these 6 hours for every year. And after completing 4 years, what happens is that it will become 4 into 6, exactly this 24 hours. So 24 hours means you all know that 1 day. So this 1 day will be added on every 4th year. That is why for every 4 years we will get something known as this leap year, where we have 366 days in this leap year, whereas normal year we will have 365 days only, but leap year we have 366 days. Why? Because every year we are saving this 6 hours, and these 6 hours after 4 years it will become 24 hours, 1 day. That 1 day will be added on every 4th year. So for every 4 years we will get this leap year. Then where it is added this one extra day, you all know, I think it is added in the month of February. That is why in the leap year we usually have this 29 days in this month, but usually on a normal year we have only 28 days. But in the leap year we will have this extra 1 day, which we call it as this, that extra day we also call it as this leap day. So in the month of February we are adding this extra day, which makes 29 days. Just in case if you look into the calendar, whatever calendar you have, you can find if it is a leap year means you can find 29 days in the month of February. For example, last time the leap year was in the year 2016. Then if you add this 4 years, then now it is in 2020. So in 2020, that means this present year, also we can find this leap year. That means 2020 is also having can also be known as this leap year. Then next leap year when it will come again, you add 4 years, then it will be 2024. That means the next leap year it is going to be in 2024. Then the other important things about this revolution of the earth is that our earth revolves in a fixed path known as orbit. You all know that earth revolves around the sun in a fixed path. What is that path? We call that path as this orbit. And what is the shape of this orbit? The shape of the orbit is something we call it as oval shape. Sometimes we can also call it as this elliptical shape. Then how does it look like? So the elliptical shape, it looks like in this way. Suppose in this manner it looks like, and suppose here the sun is there, the earth will be moving in this direction. So the elliptical path looks like this, which is also known as this oval shape, or you can also call it as this fixed path. That is what is that? Oval shape, or we can also call it as this elliptical shape. So next we will discuss some other important effects of this revolution. Just now I have mentioned that the earth revolves in a fixed path or fixed elliptical path, which is known as this orbit. And what is the length of this orbit? What is the length of the orbit of which the earth is revolving around the sun? So the length of the orbit is that it is around this approximately 965 million square kilometers. That means almost 96.5 crore kilometers around which the earth is revolving every year. Then the other thing is that every time the distance between the sun as well as this earth is not same. Why? Because you can see the shape of the orbit around which the earth, on which the earth is revolving. Sometimes it is somewhat more distant, sometimes it is very closer, sometimes it is somewhat far away. So when the distance between the sun and earth is minimum, that means here when the earth is in this position and in this position, approximately the distance will be 146 million kilometers from sun and earth. Usually you all know that the distance between the sun and earth is 150 million kilometers. But here sometimes when the distance is minimum, it is something around 146 million kilometers, and at this position the earth is said to be something known as perihelion. What do you mean by this perihelion? Is that peri means near, helios means sun. So together when the earth is in this position at a distance of 146 million kilometers, we call it as this perihelion. And sometimes the earth the earth will be at a maximum distance from the sun. So what is the maximum distance? It can be, it is something around 151 million kilometers. So when the sun is, when the earth is at in this position, we call it as something known as ephelion, or we can also call it as aphelion, which means ap means away from, helios means this sun. And when this happens, when this ephelion happens, is that this perihelion, it happens on 4th of January every year, and this happens, ephelion, it happens on 4th of July every year. That means every time the minimum distance to the sun, the maximum distance to the sun happens twice in a year. One is on 4th of January, the other one is this 4th of July. On 4th of January it is the minimum distance, on 4th of July it is the maximum distance from the sun. Then the other effects of this earth revolution, what are the main effects of this revolution of the earth around the sun, is that the first and very important thing is that it causes variation in the length of day and night. Suppose you can observe during this winter season, you can see the sun sets by 5 or sometimes even at 4 o'clock, and whereas during this summer season the sun sets not even at, sometimes even at 7 o'clock or 6:45 like this in the evening time. So there is a difference in the length of day as well as night. So this variation, the difference between length of the day and the length of the night is actually caused because of this revolution of the earth around the sun. So this is the first effect of earth's revolution, and it also causes the change in something known as phenomenon of seasons. You all know that we experience different seasons, such as mainly we have 4 different seasons, such as spring, summer, autumn as well as winter. So these the main reason behind this 4 season is also due to this revolution of the earth. And why these seasons mainly occur? What is the reason behind these seasons? Why we get summer season? Why we get spring? Why we get autumn? Why do we get winter? The main reasons behind this are that here the first and foremost thing is because of the rotation of the earth, and as I mentioned, it is also because of the revolution of the earth, and the last one is that it is inclination of the earth. What do you mean by this inclination of the earth? Inclination of the earth means, I have already told, suppose this is the shape of the earth, the axis is like this, that means the earth is tilting somewhat towards, or you can say tilting, or you can also use the other word, the earth is bending at a angle of 66 and of degrees towards this region. So that is why you can see it is always looking like this. Suppose if this is equator, if you draw a center line, but the earth is tilted in this angle, and this point we call it as this axis. So this axis is actually inclined or bending towards and at an angle of 66 and of degrees. So total, if you divide the earth into half, you should actually get 90 degrees. But the earth is not in that position, it is somewhat tilted. That means it is like this, bending towards or tilting towards an angle of 66 and of degrees. So next we will also see some of the four important days on this in a year, about which, because of which the revolution of the earth, because of this revolution of the earth, we have mainly four important days which happens in a single year. So next we will discuss about these four important days and why it is happening, and we will also discuss what is the length of the day, what is the length of the night during these different days, different seasons. Let us discuss about those four important days in a year and different positions of the earth. But before that, let me tell you that the middle one is sun, and these are the four different positions of the earth in a particular year, and you can see the orbit along which our earth is moving, and we also call it as this elliptical path, elongated path, or orbit, or we can also call it as oval shaped orbit. Now let us see the four important positions of the earth. First, starting with this equinox. What is this equinox? Is that this equinox will occur every year on 21st of March as well as 23rd of this September, and here you can see that the sun rays are directly falling on this equator. The earth is tilting like this, and the rays are falling directly on this equator. So that is why every year on these 2 days, that is on 23rd of September and on 21st of March, our earth experience something known as this equinox. Equinox means, you can say it is equal day and equal night. So on these particular 2 days, that is on 21st of March as well as 23rd of September, we will experience equal day as well as equal night. And why? Because of these variations, as I have already told, it is because of the revolution of the earth. So here you can see that this earth is experiencing this equal day and equal night, which we also call it as this equinox. Then the next one is that, coming to this position here, you can see the sun rays are directly falling mainly in this northern hemisphere, and this one is this southern hemisphere. Okay, wait, before we discuss about that, here you can see two different seasons on this equinox day. Suppose on this 21st of March every year in the northern hemisphere, we will experience this spring season. That means during this March season, or exactly on March 21st, or in the month of March, we experience a spring season. Those people who are living in this northern hemisphere, and those people who are living in this southern hemisphere, they experience autumn season. That means the seasons are actually quite opposite in both the hemispheres. Suppose in the northern hemisphere, if it is autumn, then in the southern hemisphere it will be spring. And here on 21st of March, since it is spring season in this northern hemisphere, you can experience autumn season in this southern hemisphere. So this is quite opposite in the both these hemispheres. Next, you will see the position of the earth on 21st of June. So here on the 21st of June, you can see the sun rays are mostly directly falling in this northern hemisphere compared to this southern hemisphere. Why? Because the earth is tilted like this and the sun rays are directly falling in the northern hemisphere, and the southern hemisphere usually they receive lesser amount of sun rays. Because of this, you can observe summer season in the northern hemisphere during this time on 21st of June, and on this same day in the southern hemisphere we experience this winter season, and that is why this 21st June we also call it as this summer solstice. That means this we experience on this particular day we experience longest day and shortest night. So why? Because this longest day and shortest night is that because the sunrays are mainly falling directly on this region, in particular region, compared to this southern hemisphere. Because of this, in those people who are living in the northern hemisphere, listen carefully, the northern hemisphere people only, they experience longest day and shortest night on this particular day, that is 21st June, which is also known as this summer solstice. And the quite opposite will happen in the southern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere they will experience winter season and they will also experience longest night. At the same time they will also experience a shortest day. But why we are discussing only about this summer and summer solstice is because we all are living in this northern hemisphere. Therefore we experience longest day as well as shortest night. And as I have already discussed about this 23rd September, here what happens is that in northern hemisphere we will experience autumn season, and in southern hemisphere we will experience this spring season. But on 23rd of September, on 21st of March, both on these days we experience equal day as well as equal night. That means the length of the day will be 12 hours, the length of the night will be 12 hours. Next, coming to this position, when the earth is coming into this position, what happens is that it will be on mainly in this month, that is in the month of December. Especially when the earth is on this position, it is on exactly on 22nd of December, and this position of the earth we also call it as this summer solstice. And this not summer solstice, we also call it as this winter solstice. And on this particular day on 22nd of December we will experience longest night as well as shortest day. So why? Because this longest night and shortest day is that because now you see the rays are directly falling on southern hemisphere below the equator, and the rays are slightly falling slantingly on northern hemisphere. So those people who are living in the northern hemisphere, countries such as India, they experience winter season on this particular day, and quite opposite will be in the southern hemisphere. For example, if you take countries like Australia, this Australia, as well as you can also take this countries such as New Zealand, both these countries they are located in this southern hemisphere, and countries like India and all some other Asian countries, they all are located in this northern hemisphere. For example, on this month December, the northern hemisphere countries such as India, we experience a winter season, but these countries such as Australia as well as New Zealand, they experience summer season. So that is the reason mainly why Australian people they celebrate Christmas during this summer season. But for us it is in the winter season. You all know 25th December, it is in the month of December. Therefore we will experience this winter season. So this particular day 22nd of December we will call it as winter solstice, and we will experience longest night as well as shortest day, and the quite opposite will take place in this southern hemisphere. That is the reason why Australians celebrate their Christmas in the summer season. So with this we have completed that on this what are these four important days that are mainly we can experience in a single year. What are those? One is this equinox days, that is on 21st of March, 23rd of September. Then on this 21st June we call it as summer solstice. on 22nd of December we call it as winter solstice, where the seasons will be quite opposite in both the hemispheres. Suppose if it is summer in northern hemisphere, it will be winter in the southern hemisphere. So like this, opposite seasons will be there in all this, in both the hemispheres, northern as well as southern hemispheres. So with this we have completed the chapter known as this motions of the earth. Next we will discuss about this maps lesson. Thank you.